what separates you as someone who's legally blind as a director from someone who, has, fulfilled a vision and is directing a film?
It's not incredibly different. And again, I do still have 9 to 10 degrees of central vision, and I have 20/20 acuity in that. So like that's a big help. But like I use an iPad with inverted colors for the script instead of paper scripts because I need the contrast to be able to read quickly and perceive text and have the ability to zoom in. I have my cane on set in case it gets busy and I need to look out for cabling and I need to look out for C-stands and stuff. I use a 7-inch monitor to direct the shot because, as you will understand, and some people may not, if I'm looking at a room, I can't take in all of the room. If I look at a monitor that is showing a shot of the room, I can see the whole room. So I have to look at a monitor to perceive the shot. So sometimes I'd have like the cinematographer like place the camera on a stand in a wide shot, and that's how it would like address the art direction. And then it's just, scanning and all the classic things that people who are low vision do. But this is something that I do want to add, like that, because if this is a podcast for people with disabilities, like it's something that was a huge thing I never expected. Like I knew that I was going to have to make these physical adaptations, but I didn't know what disability was going to do for me. And one of the key, just to jump back real quick, like one of the key conversations I had that got me through the grieving process or pushed me towards the acceptance process with RP was I had a call with a blind, he's a VP of communications at Be My Eyes. He lives in LA. His name's Will Butler. He's incredible. I love the guy. And I called him and we got connected and I told him my whole story of what happened to me in 2020. And his opening message to me was being diagnosed with RP was not the hardest thing to happen to you this year. And like, he just like got me thinking differently about my disability because he's been blind for 11 years.
Yeah.
So he has this understanding of how disability, of course, can create complications. But in his case, he's a journalist, he's a writer, he's a music producer. Like it's also created opportunities for him. And it's also sort of given him a lot of perspective. And he told me, way before I even was in production on my movie, like, you're going to be surprised one day what blindness is going to give you because you think it's always going to take, or it's always going to you're going to trip over it. And when I started making this film, I knew I wanted to be very public about my disability because it's just who I am. I have to just say, it makes me very uncomfortable. I get very anxious having to like wonder what you were saying of like, do I have to have that uncomfortable conversation? What if I knock a drink over at lunch with the actor? What are they thinking? Like, I'd rather just be like, hey, I'm legally blind. I walk a little slower. I may, need to do this or that. Like, that's my personal opinion, and people can have, obviously, they have their own relationship to disability. But so when I was writing letters to the actors to ask them to be on the film, I included the fact that I was diagnosed. I included the fact that it was going to make it a different experience and maybe in some ways a special experience. And directing and filmmaking, to me, it requires a lot of vulnerability. Working with actors is all about getting on their level and sharing things. And it's not about the lines. It's actually when you sit on the back porch between setups and you're telling stories about what this next scene is about. And you might actually just say some bizarre anecdote from when you were a little kid and you had this fight with your little brother. So it's so vulnerable. And that's what disability gifted me was, I got to talk about my disability with the actors, and I got to talk about to them how special it was to me that I was making this movie, that it was happening, because there was so many months in 2020 where I thought it wasn't, or I thought I was going to give up on it. And I believe that openness and that vulnerability led to a better film, that they trusted me more. And that's essentially what Will told me. Was he was a journalist, and he used to say, when I would walk in with my cane, the first 5 minutes of a conversation I would have with an interviewer would be, or with an interviewee, would be about my blindness. And it would be this first step of sharing something about myself. And that transference of that would allow them to trust me more. And we would have this deeper connection. And I just, yeah, I kind of want to think about that and think about moving forward. Like, maybe me being a legally blind filmmaker, yes, of course, there's the physical adaptations, but what if there's like strength in, my relationship to disability? What if it allows me to be a better filmmaker in ways I couldn't have predicted? So I believe that's true of my film that I just made. So I just want to put that out there for everybody, because yeah, I didn't believe it when he said it's going to, because when we talked and he was like, it's going to give you things, I was like, what? I'm losing my vision. Are you kidding me? It's not going to give me anything. And he was right.